You've counted every calorie, tried every diet, spent hours in the gym, and still something's missing. You want more than just weight loss. You want your energy back. You want your confidence restored. You want a way of living that doesn't feel like punishment. Welcome to Master Your Metabolism, where we cut through the noise, ditch the fads, and give you a real plan to become the healthiest, strongest version of you. Hosted by our team of expert coaches with proven strategies, science-based tips, and real-life encouragement, not just to help you lose fat, but actually create that lifestyle that you love. You've tried everything. Now, let's try what actually works. This is your turning point. Let's go. Hi there. Welcome to Master Your Metabolism. I am here with Coach Whitney, and this is now part 2 that we are talking today about nutrition with prenatal and postpartum women and what exactly we should be doing. And I have all the questions from clients and other people that have asked about what exactly should be happening. So thank you, Whitney, for being here and sharing some of this information with everybody. So we'll get started with first question. Am I supposed to be eating for 2? How much actually am I supposed to be eating?
So this is a great one because I think the nice excuse that a lot of us like to convince ourselves is, well, I'm pregnant, I can be eating for 2.
Yes.
When in reality, your caloric needs don't actually go that much higher than your maintenance. So with that being said, we can kind of break it down by trimester, right? So in your first trimester, you should be eating at or close to maintenance, symptoms allowing, of course, but you really don't need to focus on eating more during that trimester. And then over the course of your second and third trimesters, you're going to, like, second trimester, you need about 150 to 200. And then in your third trimester, you'll need an additional 2 to 300. That's it. So again, that being said, it's not always going to fall in that parameter because we all know that like pregnancy symptoms don't allow for eating as planned.
Yes.
Like, great example, I went into my pregnancy with Ezekiel. I was completely plant-based. That didn't last very long at all because all of the food that I liked sounded disgusting and all I wanted to eat was steak. And a lot of women have a lot of nausea. I also had a lot of nausea with both of my pregnancies. As with all things related to pregnancy, especially, give yourself a little bit of grace. And I will say too, in my third trimester, like both pregnancies, I gained a ton of weight. I don't particularly like the idea of tracking while pregnant, and most of the recommendations say don't do it. I like to give it as an option just to, if you're good at, like, if you want to see what you're eating, but don't do it necessarily every day. But if you want to kind of keep track of where you're at, it's okay. You definitely don't want to do it for weight loss. But like my third trimester just came at me and everything was horrible except the foods that I shouldn't be eating. Horrible heartburn, and I was just miserable. And so I'm not going to lie, I ate whatever I wanted. But overall, you don't need to be eating for 2, and your caloric needs are not going to be super high. They're actually higher while you're breastfeeding.
Yeah. Yeah. And I think that also goes to some women that maybe started, because I know there was certain women that we've worked with that weren't eating even close to their maintenance before starting, right? So if they're not eating and they're just eating like 1,200 calories or 1,000 calories, just because you're pregnant doesn't mean you like jump your calories up to your maintenance.
Right. So that's a thing to keep in mind too, is that especially during your first trimester is the time to do it, is to work your way up to maintenance, or you will see a lot of weight gain because essentially during your first trimester, you're only going to see a couple of pounds. And a lot of that is going to be water weight, unless your nutrition is that where you kind of jump up or you start eating, whatever you feel like, you start eating all the craving foods, that kind of thing, then your weight you'll put on more to start with. And The reason for those recommendations, it is to protect you and baby from those later complications, such as, and I know we'll touch on this, but gestational diabetes and preeclampsia and those types of things. So if you gain a ton of weight early on, then you're just increasing from there and it can cause problems.
What are some of the most important nutritional needs during pregnancy?
So you're definitely going to want to make sure that you're getting an adequate amount of protein. Don't be afraid of carbs. And you're going to be wanting to eat a good amount of healthy fats, especially those omega 3s, because omega 3s are going to be essential for baby's growing brain. Um, you're definitely going to want to be on a prenatal vitamin. I do know that there's some controversy about folic acid and folate, and a lot of people in general can't process folic acid. So up to you and your provider whether you want to search for like specific sources of dietary folate or a specific like prenatal, but studies have shown that even those who don't, it's methylation, right? Who don't
Hmm.
methylate folic
Way better.
acid, yeah, um, they still benefit from having folic acid as a supplementation during pregnancy because what that does early on is it's going to help prevent neural tube defects. So it's super important. Another really important thing to want to make sure that you're getting enough of in your diet is calcium. And this is going to be critical for mom because your body will take from your body and from your stores, baby will get what baby needs. We've
Yep.
survived famines.
Yep.
So, again, even if you don't get your calories up, we have had babies through hard times throughout our history. Your body will take from its stores. So, a lot of those recommendations, and again, with the protein, with all of it, it's going to be to make sure that you stay healthy throughout your pregnancy because your body will take what baby needs. Yeah, so those are some of the big ones. Protein building blocks of everything. So you need protein for your own body, your own tissue, and in order to have baby grow, baby needs protein. So rather than take that from your tissue, from your muscle, getting enough in your diet is going to ensure that you have an adequate supply coming and going. The healthy fats are also going to help with your hormones, which are going to be all over the place. So, you know, taking care of that. And you may even find some women do, some don't, that your body's going to tell you what you need. I know first time around, I was a carb girl. Second time, all I wanted were eggs and avocados, like full
Hmm.
eggs. So it was like,
Yep.
that's all day. So that's another good time to listen to your body. Now, if your body's saying grab a Twinkie, kind of dig deeper into what that might mean.
Right. I don't know that baby really wants a Twinkie.
But, think about what's in the Twinkie, right?
Yep. Yep.
Why are you craving that? Okay, maybe eat if you
I
eat
need some
something.
sugars.
And because a good trick that I was told that it helped me a lot is like when you're craving something super sweet, try eating a very heavy protein dish and see if you still want that sweet thing. A lot of times it will take care of it. And if you still want something sweet, you know, grab a piece of dark chocolate or grab a piece of
Date.
fruit or a date. Yeah, date. And dates are really great later on in pregnancy too. So,
Yeah. And just to give people examples, like proteins can be, it doesn't just have to be the steak or chicken or fish or egg
yeah.
whites. It could be like beef bone broth. So, like in the beginning, we had someone that wasn't wanting to eat anything, but sipping on some soup or some bone broth was able to get a little bit of protein, or using like protein shakes that were clean, using things for healthy fats like salmon or olive oil, avocado, flaxseed, chia seeds, things that are going to be anti-inflammatory for that purpose. And like I said, the carbs, yes, Twinkies, but we use maybe something else. We found a lot of times that when they're craving something sweet, A lot of times it's just your body wants that quick energy because maybe the energy stores are low. So giving yourself, that's why your body's craving is it's tired. So either sleep or, using something like you said, like fruit or something like that. And especially dates. Dates, it reacts like allulose. So it doesn't have that quick spike. It does something more that kind of keeps your blood sugars more stable.
Yep. Yeah,
So,
I love the dates. That's a great one.
and moving into, speaking of that, what are some things I can do to help lower my chances of gestational diabetes?
Yes. So this kind of goes back to that whole like you want to be careful how much weight you're putting on as you progress. I don't think it's always fair to say like that 25 to 35-pound weight gain is right for everybody. Because I think you can have a perfectly healthy pregnancy if you gain a little bit more.
Like 53? I don't
Yeah,
know.
what
It's
60.
good.
But I by all accounts, gaining 60 pounds, I had a healthy pregnancy. And during my second trimester, I was eating the way that I should be eating. And I was still like towards the end of it, I was just putting on weight. And I think that's part of what happened in my third trimester both times. Is I was like, I'm just going to eat what I want because I'm gaining anyways.
Yeah. I'll fix it later.
Yeah, I'll fix it. It's fine. But so with gestational diabetes, there is a high genetic component to it, but that's not always like a sentence. Some things that you can do to prevent, to lower your chances, or even mitigate it if you come to find that you get it regardless, sticking to those healthy carbs, eating protein rich meals. But honestly, one of the best ways to help prevent that or lower your chances is to exercise through your pregnancy because that is going to be the most efficient way to get the glucose out of your
To the
blood
stores.
and store it. So it's just another way that exercise can help benefit mom and baby while you're pregnant. Because essentially, there are multiple mechanisms at play with why we're at an increased risk for that. And it does benefit baby to have access to more glucose in our blood. So pregnant women become more insulin resistant because your body is trying to get that extra glucose, that extra energy for your growing baby because it takes a lot of energy to grow and at the rate that they're growing. So if you do your best to try to put those clean foods into your body, to keep your sweets at like a reasonable level and to add a exercise program or a training program of sorts, that's all going to help prevent a lot of those complications that you see later down the road.
Nice.
Uh,
Nice.
and a good example too, like I thought, and really pregnancy was where I became the biggest like into all of this is I thought I was going to have these horrible pregnancies because my mom had horrible pregnancies. She gained over 100 pounds with all three of us. She had gestational diabetes with all three of us, preeclampsia. We all came early and we were huge. C-sections, and I was afraid. And I knew that some of that was probably out of my control, but I was like, I'm going to do everything I can to control what I can and hope for the
Absolutely.
best.
Absolutely.
And luckily for me, doing these things made a huge difference. And I had healthy pregnancies. I had vaginal deliveries. I didn't have any medication. And, it was a completely different experience with my two.
Nice. All right. So is it okay to eat in a calorie deficit if I'm in my first trimester?
No. And I wanted to include this because I have had this come up and I know you know this. You don't you don't want to do that and it's not safe and healthy for baby. And like we talked about before, if you're in a deficit, don't necessarily go out and start eating maintenance calories tomorrow, but you are going to want to work your calories up to maintenance uh, because weight loss should never be a goal during pregnancy. I know it's hard to watch your body change, to watch the scale go up, to see your body holding on to fat in places. And it's for a purpose. And that's the whole thing is like, All of this is to help your baby grow. And if you're trying to lose weight, baby does not have an environment to thrive. So yeah, just the answer
Just
to
like you don't
that
want your
is
toddler dieting. Like the same
right,
thing. If you don't want your
right.
toddler dieting, then we're not going to want that for a child that's not even born.
Yep, because it could develop brain function. It could it could affect development and growth and, spinal defects and just all of it. So don't go into a calorie deficit.
And can I go into this deficit right after the baby is born?
So this one's a little more individual. The overall concept is take it slow. And it really depends on where you're at too, right? Because so I'll take me for example. I was eating well in a surplus at the end of my third trimester. And so when I had baby, my deficit was like 2,300 calories. So I was eating enough to be fine. And I was still in a deficit. It was still lower than where I was at. And so it was safe to do so. But I've had more than one mom come to me who was eating far below that in those early postpartum times. And it's easy to do. It's easy to miss meals when you've got a new baby and you're a new mom and you're trying to figure out anybody's routine, and the minute you start to feel like you're getting it, it switches up again, and it's easy to undereat. And after my first pregnancy, I wasn't tracking those first couple of months, but I can promise you I probably was eating much lower than I should have been because I could not for the life of me figure out how to get meals in. I was just thankful for the protein shakes a couple times a day because I'm like I can do that.
Get that real quick. Yeah.
But another way that I know that the second time around I was in a much healthier position is it took a lot longer for my weight to come off because I was eating so low and my body was stressed out. So you want to keep in mind that your body has been through a traumatic experience and your body needs the nutrition to support healing. So, whether you had a C-section or vaginal delivery, you're going to have inflammation. You're going to go through those stages of healing. And on top of that, your hormones are all over the place. And so you need to make sure that you're eating enough to take care of yourself so that your body can come out of that stressed out state, as much as possible with a newborn and actually let go of the body fat and let your hormones start to work on returning to normal. So, again, you can do like a moderate deficit, but you don't want to start off at those larger deficits that maybe you normally would for a fat loss phase. You want to take it slow and you want to make sure that you're focusing on whole foods, nutrient dense foods. Don't cut your fats too low. Again, making sure you're getting those omega 3s and those fats that are going to help get that inflammation down, also help support your hormones, you know, protein forward meals, because again, you've got a lot of tissue that needs repairing. So, really focusing on a lot of that.
And does what I eat transfer directly to the baby while I'm breastfeeding?
So, no, this is another one of those kind of, I think, common misconceptions that I see a lot. So, the way that breast milk is made is it is actually made from your blood. And so, when you hear things like, oh, I can't eat broccoli because it makes my baby gassy, or like something like that, the food doesn't go directly into the milk. And so the milk is made, the nutrients are pulled, it's made from your blood, and then that is how the baby's fed. And that's also why certain medications are not safe for breastfeeding. But food in general shouldn't really impact your baby so much. Caffeine will. That's really about it. And I've even, you know, they've found in more recent years, and I say this, like, use this sparingly, but, like, even alcohol affects baby a lot less than they used to think for breastfeeding moms.
Can I take supplements while pregnant? And what about breastfeeding?
So this one is going to be more of a depends on the supplement and depends on the situation. Unfortunately, a lot of supplements haven't been tested on pregnant and breastfeeding
Women.
moms because there's an ethical problem to
Mhm.
setting up
Obviously, yeah.
a group.
Yep.
But that being said, you always want to consult your doctor when you're thinking about adding any type of supplement. And there are supplements that, like, it's a no go. So, in general, err on the safe side for most supplements. It's going to be a no. Things like protein powders, if you find a clean protein powder and again, run it by your doctor, that's typically not a problem. Water soluble vitamins, not a problem. You are going to
Like
want to
their
be
prenatal and postnatal vitamins.
yeah, yep. Or like even a vitamin C supplement, vitamin D supplements, they'll put a lot of women on, especially in pregnancy. But you are going to want to be careful about certain like fat soluble vitamins, and it's because of the mechanism that fat soluble vitamins are in our body. They stay longer, they don't just flush out of your system. I know vitamin A, you have to be really careful about. So things like CMOS, retinol,
Mhm.
you have to be super careful because that can actually cause heart problems with babies with too much vitamin A. And then another common supplement that I have gotten questions about and seen a lot of questions about is creatine. And there's a lot of mixed information about that. Because again, there's not a really great way to study pregnant and postpartum women. That being said, I have seen a recent study that looked promising where they found, especially for like mood disorders, that it can be pretty beneficial with minimal side effects. Because on the flip side of the coin, creatine is the most studied supplement out there. So that's one that I would say too, like consult your doctor. There's a lot on both sides of the coin before making a decision. And then again, like with supplements, just err on the safe side, because I'd rather be safe than sorry.
Supplements aren't that necessary. They're just
Exactly.
supplements.
And that's what they are, right? They're to supplement your
Yep.
diet.
Yep.
So if you can get a source of something from your diet,
Food,
get that
for
as much
sure.
as you can. Yep.
And how many calories should someone be eating if they are breastfeeding? And will eating in a deficit affect the milk supply?
So breastfeeding adds about 3 to 500 additional calories to your maintenance calories. So you need an additional 3 to 500 to make milk. Um, Now, I know there's a lot of anecdotal evidence to suggest that going into a deficit can affect milk supply. But as far as scientific evidence or medical evidence, it shouldn't, because again, we've survived as a species through famines, through hardships, through hunter gathering where food just wasn't as readily available. So that being said though, you will take what baby needs from your stores. So this is again where you want to be making sure that you're consuming enough calories for your own health, because when you're not doing that, sorry, you're going to be at a higher risk for things like postpartum depression, other mood disorders, osteoporosis, dental problems, because your body will take from those stores, and bones, muscle, teeth, those are all places that we like to store
Yep.
nutrients.
Yep. Yeah, and it's something that we see across the board. So not just with, when you're nursing, but just in general. Like we have people now that are on these weight loss drugs that they're
Yeah.
not eating.
Yep.
So if you do not eat, this is where the side effects are coming from because your body's going to figure out how to survive, especially women. We are the ones that are kept, that are going to survive because our bodies were designed to do so. So we can have babies, so we can be there to be able to populate. So it will start stealing from the bones if you don't have enough nutrition. It'll start liquefying your muscle and using that for energy when it doesn't have the protein to do it. So I always tell people like the body's really efficient. And whether it's you just had a baby, whether you're pregnant, whether you're just much later in life and you're in that much of a deficit, you always want to fuel your body and think about different times, different seasons. You know, we do it now of there are dieting phases and fat loss phases, and then there must be a recovery phase. So there's different times to do different things. And when you're having a baby, like you said, that's not the time to be crash dieting. The body will come back, right? The body, you will be able to do it. But just focusing now, I feel like enjoying the time that you have, that you don't have a baby scraping.
Yeah.
It's actually inside, so you just have, like, the heartburn keeping you awake and all the things, but
Right.
rest up and enjoy and, know that when this season is done, you do have that opportunity to be able to get your training back on point, to be able to find your rhythm. Like you said, your first baby is a lot harder. Second baby, you kind of like, now I
Know
know
a
what
little
to
bit.
expect so I can get a little bit more efficient, and
Yeah.
then third baby, like, you've lost your mind. So that's where it is. That's what I found.
No, and it's true. Another important thing, we focus so much on like that bounce back for whatever reason. Like, and it's so annoying because it's like it took your body 9 months to get here. If you want it back in 3, that's an unrealistic expectation. And like you're setting yourself up for failure, but also like disappointment. So give yourself the time, give yourself the grace, go slow, and treat your body well because your body just did something amazing. So don't go beat it up after it
Yep,
just gave you life,
yep,
like probably your favorite person in the world. Your body just gave you that
100%.
person. Be nice to it.
Awesome. And is there anything else that you would like to share or feel is important, little tidbit that anybody should know before we wrap it up here?
Um, I think we hit on all the big ones.
Yeah.
It's a lot of be kind to yourself, and fuel your body and, treat your body right through pregnancy and postpartum. They're both very important phases and they're both fleeting. So you have all the time in the world to bounce back.
Yep.
So take care of yourself.
And so in the show notes, I'm going to put Whitney's information so you guys could set up a call with her. I'm also going to put a macronutrient cheat sheet in there. So that way you guys have a little bit of information of what proteins are, what healthy fats are, what carbs are, to have some different choices that you might not have thought of. And if you guys wouldn't mind, give a review. We would appreciate it. And it would truly mean the world to us. And if there's any other topics you guys would like us to share, please put it in the comments. And until next time, we'll see you then. Ciao, guys.
Bye.
Thanks for tuning in to Master Your Metabolism. If you found value in today's episode, it would mean the world to us if you'd hit subscribe and share this episode with someone who could use a little guidance in their health journey. Ready to take the next step? Head over to www.mastersfitnesscoaching.com and you can book a free call right from the site so we can chat about your goals and how we can help support you. Don't forget to join our Facebook group where we're sharing coaching tips, support, and tricks to help keep you on track and continue making progress. You don't have to do this alone. We're here to walk with you every step of the way. Until next time, stay consistent, stay kind to yourself, and keep mastering your metabolism. Let's do this together.